Well, sorry I didn't get no footage on the ground. Started to work this morning and I seen that the Sidekick was showing some dirt, and they didn't plant anything in it this year. But it looks like they're probably prepping it for possibly a ground cover. And maybe when they cover it this time, it may not be open to back up again. There's a little Brewerton. But anyway, I stopped and hunted it without a camera. All these blunts. And I'm going to make this comment because I was watching, some of you may have been watching. I find so many of these blunts, and everybody's called them hafted scrapers, and I have too, and that may be what they're used for. But if you watched, I don't know if you watch Alone. It's a survival game on History Channel. They take several participants, and this time you that watched it, you know that it was a 100-day challenge in the Arctic, I believe. Anyway, there was a guy in there named Amos, and he was raised in El Salvador, but he actually lived in Indiana. And he was one of the last 4 contestants, and you that seen it know what I'm talking about, but you that didn't see it, I was going to tell you. He had cleaned some fish, and he was down on the edge of the river, and there was a fox that approached him after the fish guts or whatever, and they weren't allowed to harvest the fox, and so he had what a blunted tip on his arrow shafts, and they called them in the episode bunny busters, and they were used for taking wild game by blunt force trauma. And he shot that fox, and the fox, of course, yelped and took off running. But I thought that was telling that they got little bits of information at the bottom of the episode to let you know kind of what's going on, techniques and first one thing and another. And that's what they called these blunted tips, were bunny busters. But they were used for taking small game. Now, whether these were or not, I don't know, but I find a ton of them, and I do know that in this part of the country where I live, according to history, for the last 400 years that there were Indians in this part of the country, they didn't settle. They were in here to hunt, but they couldn't stay till after the first dogwood bloom, I believe it was, and then they had to get out. So it was used for hunting for the last 400 years, I reckon, but they weren't allowed to camp. So these could have possibly been big hunting camps. Old stomping grounds and Sidekick. These come from a Sidekick today. Anyway, just thought I'd throw it out there. Look at this big old hammerstone. This big old creek rock. They beat the far out of it. That thing weighs about 2 pounds or better. They really done some whacking on that thing. See how raw it is around the edges? That's what it originally was, out of the creek. That's where they held it at, and they used all around the edge. I don't keep all of them, but them that shows use wire, how you leave them there. Had a good day. Show you these things that I found. That there was a rough piece of material, but done the best he could do with that. Still made a nice looking point. I wish I'd had my camera with me today, but I just didn't have it. It's Harrodsburg Church right there. Here's a nice preform. This piece here, I'm not sure what it is. It's beveled, and can't tell you whether that was beveled off or whether it was broken. But anyway, it works right into the bevel of that point. It's an odd point to be a stemmed point and it be beveled, but the base is ground. So I'm really not sure what to call it. But I like it. It's got a pretty steep bevel on it. Here's one that's been reworked. It's got some nibblings on it, but it's been reworked. But it's I'm showing it because it's a Layton. It's an early archaic make. That sight has a few of these on it. You see how it's got the extra notches in the base. Not only these notches up here, but then they got these extra little notches on the base. These old early archaic points. I found 2 or 3 of them on this side. That's the only side I've ever found them on. There's a neat big sandy. The other side had a pop in it. They took off a little bit of that edge right there, possibly. Side A looks good though. It's pretty material in that piece. This 2-tone job right here. This is the first one I found on the day. Field's possibly, going to get planted probably in a cover crop of some sort, and I may or may not get to hit it again. I just don't know. They're particular about traffic once they get it planted in anything. But if they're going to put a cover crop on it for good, like a hake, fescue, or whatever, then I could probably be safe to walk it because they're not going to roll it or nothing the next year like wheat, Anyway, there's a Brewerton. It's a cute little point. He's a mate to this one right here that they were found. One row going down one way and one coming back the other way. They were found probably within 5 foot of one another. Probably a good drill today. Any drill's a good drill. Here's a nice little Dana. Yeah, I wish I'd have had my camera with me. I'd have had some pretty decent footage. This one right here, I can't remember which end was sticking up. It wasn't. One end was sticking up. I can't remember. I believe the base was in the ground. I think the tip was sticking up. Pulled it out like a carrot. I like it when that happens. Because with that sight, you don't never know what it could be. That tip could have been anything. You see there's several different base types, so when you got a tip sticking out, it could be most anything. And here's what I would consider the find of the day. It's a real sweet point. Look at this little jewel. It's about an inch long. See if I can dry him off, see if you can get any workmanship on it. It's made real nice. Black beauty. Yeah, but it's nice and sweetie patootie. Cutie patootie. He's little. But anyway, I had a good time. I was heading to work and my truck just swerved off the road, and before I knowed it, my shoes was muddy. Maybe I'll get to go again. Later.